I'm Diane Larson, 35, a single mom who's fought tooth and nail to build a life for my daughter in Missoula, Montana. The year-end party at my parents' house in the suburbs started like always, but this time, everything changed. My daughter sat quietly, her plate barely touched, when my brother stood up. His voice sharp as a blade. "You're just an outsider." He sneered at her, tossing a half-eaten bone onto her plate. "Say thank you for even being here." The room froze. My parents laughed, their chuckles cutting deeper than his words. My daughter's eyes welled up, and I felt my chest tighten. I'd spent years paying for his college, their bills, their lives, all for them to treat her like this. I locked eyes with him, my voice steady but cold. "Everyone will get what they deserve." I took her hand and we walked out the door, slamming behind us. Their laughter echoed, but I knew this was the end. Something bigger was coming, retribution they'd never see coming. Subscribe now to see how my family faced the consequences of their betrayal. That night, I drove through the snow-covered streets of Missoula to my aunt's house. My hands gripped the wheel, my mind racing with the sting of betrayal. I'd spent years funding my family's lives, hoping they'd see my daughter as one of their own. Instead, they'd humiliated her. I pulled into the driveway of my aunt's small home, a place that always felt like a refuge. Ellen, my dad's younger sister, opened the door before I could knock, her face softening at the sight of my trembling hands. Inside, over steaming mugs of tea, I poured out my heart. My brother mocked my daughter right in front of everyone, I said, my voice cracking. And my parents laughed. Ellen listened, her eyes steady, not interrupting. She leaned forward, resting her hand on mine. "Diane, you've been their bank for years, paying his tuition, their bills. What have they given you in return?" Her words hit hard. I'd sent thousands, $10,000 for his college alone, while they treated my daughter like an outcast. Ellen's voice was gentle but firm. "You don't owe them anything. You've done enough." I thought of my daughter's tear-streaked face, her small hand in mine as we left the party. Something snapped inside me. I couldn't keep pouring money into a family that disrespected us. "You're right," I said, my resolve hardening. "I'm done." Ellen nodded, her smile encouraging. "You're stronger than you know, Diane. Protect your daughter. Protect yourself." We talked late into the night, her words grounding me. I saw my life clearly. For the first time, I'd been chasing their approval, sacrificing my own peace. No more. I pulled out my phone, my fingers steady as I typed a message to my mom and dad. "I'm stopping all financial support." Effective immediately, I hit send, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. The next hours passed in a blur. Ellen offered me her guest room, but I needed to be home with my daughter. As I drove back, the quiet of Missoula's streets felt different, calmer, like the start of something new. I'd spent years trying to buy their love, but that night I chose us, my daughter, and me. I didn't know how they'd react, but I was ready for whatever came next. Ellen's words echoed in my mind. "You're stronger than you know." For the first time, I believed it. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a flood of messages from my mom. "How could you do this to us?" Nancy's first text read, her words dripping with accusation. "You're abandoning your family." Another followed, blaming me for their financial struggles. My dad, Dennis, chimed in. "We raised you better than this, Diane. You're selfish." Their messages piled up, each one sharper, demanding I reinstate the money I'd been sending for years. I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. I'd paid their bills, covered my brother's tuition, and for what to be called selfish. By noon, Nancy escalated. She posted on Facebook a vague but pointed status. "Some people turn their backs on family when they need them most." The post spread fast in our small Missoula community. Neighbors messaged me asking if I was okay, their words laced with curiosity. Others gave me sidelong glances at the grocery store, their whispers stinging. I wanted to scream the truth, but I held back, knowing silence was my best defense. Then my brother called. "Diane, you can't just cut me off." He snapped, his voice entitled. I need that money for college. You owe me. Owe him after everything he thought he could demand more. No, I said firmly. I don't owe you anything. He argued, his tone growing desperate, but I hung up, my hands shaking. The pressure was suffocating, texts, posts, calls, but I refused to bend. My daughter deserved better than a family who saw us as a paycheck. I wasn't backing down. That weekend, Brenda stepped into my office with a worried look. My best friend and colleague Brenda had always been my rock, her sharp mind catching details others missed. "Diane, we need to talk," she said, closing the door. Her voice was low, urgent. "I was reviewing some financial records for a client and found something. Your mom took out a loan, a $10,000 loan using your name." My heart stopped. Nancy, my own mother, had forged my identity. Brenda slid a folder across my desk filled with bank statements and emails. I dug deeper, she said. "It's not a mistake. She applied last year and the payments are overdue." I flipped through the documents, my hands shaking. There, it was my name, my social security number tied to a loan I never signed for. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I'd felt before. I'd given them everything: money, time, hope, and now this. How could she do this? I whispered, my voice breaking. Brenda's eyes softened. "I'm so sorry, Diane. But you need to act fast to protect yourself." She was right. I couldn't let this slide. I spent hours that day gathering evidence, screenshots of emails, copies of statements, anything to prove I hadn't authorized the loan. By evening, I called the bank, my voice steady despite the anger boiling inside. "I'm reporting a fraudulent loan taken out in my name." I told the officer, emailing the evidence. The bank promised to investigate, but the damage was done. My credit, my reputation were at risk. Meanwhile, Nancy doubled down. She posted another vague status on Facebook. "Some people think they're above family, but karma always catches up." The post got likes from distant relatives, each one a stab to my heart. Neighbors whispered more, their pitying looks following me at the coffee shop. I wanted to confront her, to demand answers, but Brenda urged me to stay calm. "Let the bank handle it," she said. "You're doing the right thing." I nodded, clinging to her words. This wasn't just about money, it was about breaking free from their lies. 2 weeks later, a call from the bank left me stunned. "Ms. Larson," the officer said, his tone professional but grim. "We've investigated the loan taken out in your name. The evidence points to fraud by your mother, Nancy." My breath caught. Hearing it confirmed felt like a punch, but also a strange relief. The bank had frozen the account tied to the $10,000 loan and was pursuing legal action against her. "We'll keep you updated," he promised. I hung up, my mind racing. Justice was moving, but what would it cost my family? That evening, my phone rang again. Nancy's voice was frantic. "Diane, you have to stop this," she pleaded. "Tell the bank it was a mistake. They're coming after us." Dennis joined in, his tone softer but desperate. "We're your parents. You can't let this ruin us." Their words stung, but I saw through them. They weren't sorry, they were scared. "You did this to yourselves," I said, my voice cold. "I'm not withdrawing the complaint." Nancy gasped, then sent a flurry of texts. "You're destroying our lives. Think about what you're doing." I didn't respond. Days later, I heard from a cousin that my parents were selling their car, a shiny SUV they'd bragged about for years. Soon after, a for sale sign appeared outside their suburban Missoula home. The news spread through our small town, whispers of their financial collapse following me to the grocery store. I felt a pang of guilt, but it faded fast. They'd built their lives on my money and lies. Now they were facing the consequences. My daughter deserved a mother who stood firm, and I wasn't backing down. 1 month later, a letter slipped under my apartment door. I recognized my mom's handwriting instantly, the neat cursive I'd seen on birthday cards as a child. My heart sank as I opened it. Nancy and Dennis had written together, their words a mix of guilt and blame. "Diane, you've torn this family apart," the letter began. Fix your mistake. Start sending money again or you'll regret it. The audacity hit me like a slap. They'd lost their car, their home, and still thought I owed them. I crumpled the paper, my hands trembling with anger. I'd given them everything, and they dared to demand more. I pulled out my phone and blocked their numbers one by one. My mom, my dad, my brother, gone from my contacts. On Facebook, I blocked their profiles, cutting off the venomous posts that had haunted me for weeks. Each tap felt like shedding a weight I'd carried too long. I was done letting their words poison my peace. My daughter deserved a life free from their shadow, and so did I. The next day, I signed a lease for a new apartment in downtown Missoula. It was a modern place close to my office with big windows and a small balcony where my daughter could read her books. Moving day was hectic but freeing. I packed our things, leaving behind memories of their betrayal. As we settled in, my daughter smiled for the first time in weeks, her eyes bright with hope. "This is our home now, isn't it?" she asked. I hugged her tightly. "Yes, sweetheart, just ours." I lay awake that night staring at the ceiling of our new place. The silence was different. No buzzing texts, no guilt trips. For the first time, I felt truly free. I thought of the years I'd spent chasing their approval, pouring money into their lives only to be met with lies. Cutting them off wasn't just about survival, it was about choosing my daughter and me. We were starting over, building a life on our terms, and nothing would hold us back. That spring, an email from the company changed everything. The subject line read, "Congratulations, Regional Director." My hard work had paid off. I'd been promoted to oversee our firm's operations across Montana. The raise meant financial security enough to give my daughter the life she deserved. I sat at my desk staring at the screen, a smile spreading across my face. For the first time in years, I felt steady, like I could finally breathe. No more scraping by to fund someone else's life. This was for us. I called my Aunt Ellen to share the news. "You earned this, Diane," she said, her voice warm with pride. "You fought for it." Ellen had been our rock, always there with a kind word or a steady hand. She'd started taking my daughter to dance classes at a local studio in Missoula, something I'd never had time for. The classes were more than just steps and twirls, they were helping my daughter heal. After all she'd been through, seeing her confidence grow felt like a gift. I'd watch her practice in our apartment, her small frame spinning across the living room, her laughter filling the space. One evening, Ellen came over with a pizza and a stack of old photo albums. We sat on the balcony, flipping through pictures of my childhood, laughing at my terrible perms and oversized sweaters. "You've come so far," Ellen said, squeezing my hand. "You're building something real now." Her words sank in. My daughter was thriving, and I was too. The weight of my past was gone, replaced by hope for what lay ahead. That summer, sitting in my new apartment in downtown Missoula, I reflected on the journey. The sunlight streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow on the walls where my daughter's drawings hung. I'd spent years caught in a web of family expectations, believing I owed them my time, money, and heart. But their betrayal, using my name, demanding I carry their burdens, taught me a hard truth. Love shouldn't come at the cost of my own worth. I thought about my Aunt Ellen and my best friend Brenda. They'd stood by me, offering strength when I felt alone. Ellen's quiet wisdom and Brenda's sharp insight showed me what real support looked like. They didn't ask for anything in return, just my happiness and my daughter's. That was the family I chose, the one I'd protect fiercely. Looking at my daughter now twirling in her dance shoes across the living room, I saw resilience. She'd faced hurt, but was growing stronger every day. I'd learned to put her first, to shield her from those who saw us as tools. My biggest lesson was clear: my value didn't depend on others' approval. It came from standing tall, choosing who deserved my love, and building a life true to myself. I made a promise then, to her and to me. No matter what came next, I'd keep fighting for our future, a future where my daughter could dream big, where we'd never again bend to anyone's demands. As I watched her laugh, I knew we were enough. The road ahead was ours, and I was ready to walk it.